All right, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. It's another episode of the Podcasters live stream. As always, Scott Carson here, host of the popular Note Closer Show podcast and the podcast live stream. And excited to have you here tonight. Before I introduce our special guest, I always like to make sure and cover a little bit of the basics of some things got rocking and rolling here. So if you're joining us for the first time or listen to this first time, we've always got some great stuff to share with you guys. But we do these every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. live here on Zoom. We live stream to Facebook. Of course, if you're catching the replay on YouTube, we always make them available there too. What is my computer doing here real fast? There we go. But big shout out to our sponsor, podcastbusinessjournal.com. Great content, great up-to-date periodical there online for you. It's free to join to keep up what's going on in the podcast industry. We do have our upcoming Mass Media Mastermind taking place here shortly. We just had one in Orlando, which was a great time. Big hit. Everybody that walked away from Orlando walked away, booked more bookings, more tools to help them expand their audience, and also some monetization skills out there as well. So it was a really great time in Orlando. The next one's in Austin, Texas, December 19th and 20th here at our offices in Austin. It's a Thursday, Friday as well. You can get signed up by going to Mass Media Mastermind, and it's just a simple $250 per person, free to attend for 2 days to surround yourself with 20, 30 other podcasters who are serious about the craft. So love to have you guys there. If you're listening to this after that, obviously check out Mass Media Mastermind for the next scheduled event. But tonight's topic is somebody I've been trying to get on for a little while. We had to reschedule me. He's been busy as well. But it's a guy who's a master at monetizing with memberships, and our buddy Gabriel Aluisy is doing an amazing job. And so if you don't know Gabe, as he likes to be called, so Gabriel, he's a previous marketing and graphic director out there. He's done stuff in television production. He is the president of Private Club Agency. He's also the host of the Private Club Radio podcast. You can see behind him, along with doing some really awesome stuff now that you got to check out with the host of the Let's Play Through podcast and a YouTube series out there for you guys. So without further ado, let's give a big round of applause, who's also a big golf lover. All right, to our buddy Gabriel Aluisy there joining us from Tampa. Hey, what's going on, Gabe? How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, good to be with you, Scott. Yeah, that sounds like a nice golf clap you got going on there. I like that.
You know, we've got the noises here. Be careful there. I might have to. I don't have a 4 on here, but we might need to use that later.
Right.
So for those that don't know who you and I both met at PodFest a couple years ago and kind of developed from there. Oh, and I meant to ask you, did you call out to the referral I sent you? You were playing phone tag with, oh my God, what's his name? Jim? Was it?
I did. I reached out to him on LinkedIn, so we haven't connected just yet, but he's got a message in his inbox waiting for him.
Well, hey, let me jump. I'll make sure to get on there because having somebody from the Masters and the U.S. Open and golf, then we'd be glad to help out with that. But anyway, Gabe, why don't you share a little bit about kind of how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, well, I started my marketing agency, the Private Club Agency. It actually started as more of a broad topic company, right? So I called it Shake Creative when I first opened, and that was 9 years ago. And we started off doing graphic design and slowly added a few other services. But then I really developed a niche, something I always loved growing up, and just my whole life, I just was passionate about golf. My dad and I, it was like our thing when I was 3 years old, and up just to go out and play golf together. So when I started getting a few golf course clients, I realized, hey, this is something that I really like, I'm passionate about. Maybe I should go after more of that. And so I decided to kind of niche my agency down and really focus on private golf and country clubs out there. And I started my podcast, which was really the catalyst of my quote unquote success in the private club industry. I created a show about 4 years ago now. We're just about to hit episode 200, actually. It was called Private Club Radio. You see the sign behind me. And there was nothing like that in the private club industry. The associations had trade journals and they had conferences every year, but there was nothing that people could just listen to or consume, on a day-to-day basis, or something that they could just download when they wanted to or when they felt. So, quickly found that people were listening to my show as they were commuting to work and working out and all those sorts of things, and just kind of snowballed from there. Now there's lots of shows in the private club space. My show still, I think, is the biggest one out there. But from that, I wrote a few books because I had learned so much, not only about my own craft of marketing, but by interviewing all the experts on the show, I really developed a very deep understanding of the industry as a whole. And I was lucky enough to write some books about it, got asked to speak in some places, and now I speak all over the world talking about membership marketing.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that. What was probably, a lot of people are, I think, a little hesitant to go from something that's broader to a niche focus because they're afraid they're going to give up a lot of business or,
Sure.
not do that. What's your advice to those out there that maybe are in a broader niche that need to focus, need to kind of narrow it down for them?
I mean, for me, it really triggered growth, actually, because now I became known for something, whereas before, we did great work. I thought we had a great design agency, and we had great reviews and all that online, but we weren't known for anything specific. Once we really decided to target golf and private clubs out there, then people started to think our name was synonymous with what we did. And that made all the difference. And I mean, when it comes right down to it, there's only so much business that any company can take on, right? There's a maximum allowable amount of time and energy that can be put into servicing clients and customers. And so to think that, it's going to be a limiting factor, it's really the complete opposite, because our phone rings all day long, and it's because people know who we are and what we do.
Yeah, that's a great thing about it, is that you've really discovered that, or were the first one at that to really dive into that. What are some of the things that's really kind of surprised you with you doing the private club radio? And then also we'll get to Let's Play Through in a minute. But
I mean, I never thought that the show would, when I first started it, I was hoping that some people might listen to it. Had no idea that it would kind of quote unquote explode as much as a show that's so niche could explode. To do the math, there's about 7,500 private clubs across the world. So that's my target market, 7,500 businesses out there. And my show has 60,000 listeners. So if you think about it, that's, I don't know, about almost 10 people per club that's out there. So that was completely unexpected. Did not think that was going to happen. I mean, the whole journey was pretty unexpected. The gentleman Chris Kermitzos, who started Podfest. He's the one who got me to take the leap into podcasting. I hated my voice. I was completely scared to get out there and put myself out there. I thought I was going to a lot, and I thought I was going to and all these things, and I thought I hated this. Like everybody starts with podcasting, you hate the sound of your voice. And then from that, then got into public speaking, which again, never thought that was ever going to happen. I was going to step on a stage. Had complete stage fright the first couple times I did it, but it's like anything. It's a muscle that as you exercise more and more, you become better and better at it. So yeah, the whole journey has been a surprise, really.
No, well, that's good. So that's the thing I asked. You mentioned there briefly about the fact that you got to doing what you're doing, and then you basically started writing a couple books. And one of the ones I'm a fan of is definitely the Definite Guide to Membership Marketing that you wrote back, I think it was 2 years ago, roughly. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a great tips. There's so many great tips in there. I think a lot of people, listeners out there, and people that are podcasting or have something can really take away from. So there, what would you say is the biggest key to putting a membership together?
Well, specific to my industry, at least, and I think this is applicable across anyone who's trying to do something in membership. I think the main lesson, I broke it down into 3 critical lessons, but the main lesson is that emotion trumps logic always, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you see people trying to market their business or their brand or their membership, and you start to come up with a bullet list of, we've got this and we've got that. In the golf industry, we've got 18 holes of championship PB Dye signature golf. We've got a resort style swimming pool. We've got 10 hard true tennis courts. We've got a dining facility that seats 250 people. If I were to open the brochure of every single golf course out there or private club out there, it's going to be those same things. So what differentiates one from the other? It's the emotional connection that people have to that brand. And that's such a much more powerful motivator than logical reasons at the end of the day. If you're going to buy anything, I say, if you're going to buy anything, you're going to buy it for an emotional reason, whether that's a car, whether that's sneakers, whether that's a new home. You buy that for an emotional reason, right? Like if you were to buy a car I always like to use the car example. If you were to buy an automobile for a logical reason, Scott, you'd probably say, well, the Honda Accord has way more steel per square inch than the Nissan Altima, for instance, right? That's how a caveman would buy it, because when you scrap that car, that's going to be more valuable. Yeah, exactly.
I can plow through the plastic cars, right?
Exactly, right? But why do people actually buy a car, right? You buy it because you look good behind the wheel. You feel good. You're going to be good for the environment. Maybe you're going to get the girl or the man of your dreams because you're driving it. You're going to impress your friends. Those are all emotional reasons. And especially when you get into my world, which is really a luxury lifestyle purchase, all those decisions have to be emotional decisions because it's not logical. If you were to go to your financial advisor and say, Scott, I've got $50,000 to invest or $100,000, where should I put my money? No one's going to tell you go out and buy a private club membership, right? But, it's like that really across the board with anything that people buy. And so that was the real main lesson in the book that I wanted to teach people. And there's a few more in there, but that was the main one.
So being emotional as far as is what we talking about, a status, kind of that aspect that they're a member of the club, where maybe it's limited to be a part of it, or are we talking? I understand the price.
It's going to depend on what you're It's going to depend on what you're selling, right? So some clubs are selling status and being elite, sure. But there's plenty of clubs that are selling safety and security. For instance, we live in a crazy world. People are like going into places and shooting the whole place up. A club is usually behind gates. It's a safe and secure space, right? How about if you're new to Austin, Texas, and you're looking to find friends? That club could fill the emotional need for you to have connection with other individuals. In fact, really, if we get back to my origin story, the first private club I ever joined was in the Philippines. It was on a little tiny island, 30 miles wide, called Siquijor. And there was nothing there. There wasn't a McDonald's. There was nothing American. There was rice and fish, basically. A lot of palm trees and coconuts, and great people. And for the first time in my life, I was disconnected from everyone and everything that had been in my life. And it became, kind of, you could get depressed in a place like that almost, even though it's paradise. So it turned out that I ended up joining the Siquijor Tennis Club, and I met a ton of people there. It was one little court. It was a dirt court, and I spent every single day at the Siquijor Tennis Club, and I made some incredible friends, and it really saved me from a time when I felt really lonely. And so, if you take this back into your world, whatever that is for you, whatever you're quote unquote selling or marketing, if you can focus on the emotional reasons behind why people want to do business with you or want to buy what you're selling or whatever service that you're offering, what's that emotional reason? We can say, okay, I need an accountant, for instance, to do my taxes. Well, yeah, you need an accountant, right? Because you don't want to be you don't want to go to jail. So maybe that's the emotional response is the I don't want to go to jail thing, right? So whatever it is, whatever service you're in, whatever product you're selling, think about those. What are the actual emotional reasons? It's not, if you really break it down, it's not I want to go to jail. It's I want someone who's going to take care of me, someone who's going to have my best interest in mind, right? That's really what it's all about. So whatever business you're in, it's
too, right? Billy, the ease of mind is an emotional factor that it's done.
Yeah, that's done correctly. Exactly. That you're not going to go to jail.
Okay, Wesley Snipes, come on now.
Yep.
So hitting those emotional factors is always a good thing and allows you to either charge more or help monetize that aspect of things. So, question I always like to ask there: 60,000 listeners. It's per episode, or is that on a monthly basis, or how's that work out for you?
That's international, like unique listeners. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not every, I wouldn't say every episode. Probably my general episode, because again, it's a niche audience.
Yep.
Probably about 500 to 1,000 listen to it every single week, right? Those are the hardcore listeners. But across the board, I'm 200 episodes in. Yeah, there's been 60,000 unique listeners. It's kind of cool.
That's phenomenal. Now, what would you say is you get? I'm sure you're obviously getting feedback from your listeners all across the world, stuff like that. Has there been anything that's been surprising that they've reached out to you for to discuss, or something that they really enjoyed that maybe surprised you?
Well, I've gotten, again, a lot of surprises, I think, throughout the years. I think the one thing is that really taught me an important lesson was about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hear it when you go to places like the, PodFest and conferences like that, where you've got content creators that tell you how important consistency is. So I got an email years ago now, probably a couple months into doing the show. It was a general manager who was out in Colorado, and he managed a club, and he told me, Gabe, you're my lifeline to the private club industry. I don't have another colleague that I can even network with within 4 hours of my club. I'm in the middle of Colorado, up in the mountains. It's a beautiful club, but I don't get to any of the industry conferences. Your radio show is kind of where I get all my education, and that touched me. So like now I think about when I do my show every week, I'm not doing my show for the 60,000 people out there in the world. I do my show and I think about that guy. And when I have to get up on Monday morning at 5 a.m., I get up for that guy because he is waiting for my show on Monday morning to listen to it. So that was a big lesson for me, is consistency. And again, I think that's applicable in any business. If you show up consistently and there's consistency in what you do and the product and service that you offer, you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the big thing, is I think that's everywhere, is showing up on a regular basis, recording on a regular basis. But I think there's two sides of what you just said. Instead of thinking about everybody, really boil it down to that one, as we say, avatar in the industry, right?
Sure.
That one guy or that one listener that really kind of embodies a lot of what you're looking for as a listener or as a client or as somebody who's going to pony up bucks to either be part of your membership or things like that too, right?
Right. I have actually, that's an exercise in my book that I take people through is not just to think about, okay, is it a man or woman? Are they between this age and that age? But to get really deep, like what does this person's day look like? So when I talk about my avatar is a busy general manager of a private club. And I actually describe his day. So he wakes up at 6 o'clock. He's got 100 emails and 1 million fires to put out. But first he's got to put food on the table for his kids. He makes them breakfast. He gets them to the school bus. And he rushes off to work. He gets to work. There's 100 more emails to open. There's members coming. And I literally wrote this out one day, and I described what this guy's day would look like. And so when I think about products or services, using that avatar, now I know, okay, what is a general manager of a private club's, what is his actual thing that he really needs? What's his reason? And for me, it's saving time. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge realization in my business, that we weren't just creating nice graphic design and we weren't just driving membership leads or membership prospects to this club. We were saving people's time. And when I made that shift, I became a lot more successful. And that shift would not have come about if I hadn't gone through that exercise of really focusing on who my avatar is and really what his needs and wants and challenges are.
That's a nugget right there, because I'm sure you see a lot of, we're part of some of the Facebook groups, PodFest, and other places, and you see people all the time that start a show or a YouTube series and like, they just think if you record it, they will come, right? And that's not always the case. Like, how do I get more listeners? I'm trying to do all this stuff. I'm like, well, who you really you're talking to when you're providing your show and content, and most people are way too broad. And they upset because they're not really thinking of that one person and what that one person, great exercise, love that, of going through what that person, that listener is going through on a daily basis.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think the other thing is getting feedback. In the beginning of my show, I think it built a following, and because I always was asking for feedback. So even to this day, I have a little tab on my website that's vote for the next episode, and people can choose, hey, do I want to hear an episode about golf? Do I want to hear an episode about the food and beverage department? Do you want to hear an episode about operations, about boards, whatever that topic is, or they can write in their own topic. And I think, getting that feedback of what people actually want when you're doing a podcast, it makes them feel like they're a part of it as well.
That's a really good nugget as well.
I love the sound
dollar sign on that one.
I need to get one of those. That's cool.
You know what? I see at PodFest, between that, I'll have one for you. I'm going to have to order these in bulk.
Oh, sweet.
I was like, oh my God, I want one. I got one. That's 16 ways to say the F word, but we won't use that one here.
That's hilarious.
But that's, oh my God, you let me lose track there. But what was you just said? You said,
We were talking about getting the audience interaction.
Yes. Having them be able to vote on something and being a part of the selection process
Right.
is a really good thing, because then it's the emotional buy-in that, hey, I voted and he was listening, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Where do you see that take place in other areas in that have been successful? And I know we're pulling this out. We're gonna pull this out of left field, but
Sure.
there's that's an emotional buy-in. It's emotional tie-in because you're asking for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a lot of feedback immediately, or did it take time for people to realize that you're actually paying attention to those questions?
Oh, I think I got some feedback, but it's definitely snowballed. The other thing that I did is kind of what you're doing right here is I created a group for the listeners. And so what I not only just created like a Facebook group where we have discussions, but I actually created it like a hashtag, and I had people vote on what is the hashtag that most represents what you're about. Like I think the post was something like, we need a flag or a banner for all of us to fly under. What resonates most with you? And I let people vote on what that hashtag was. And now people all over the industry use this hashtag when they're posting, when they're doing something amazing. It's hashtag Club Changemaker. And then I made shirts, actually sent shirts to people, didn't charge them. I just wanted them to feel like they were a part of something. And people really connect with that. And then, so if you're creating a membership, and I always try to think of what I'm doing in my business as a membership, right? What makes a good membership? It's feeling that you're a part of something, right? And that's probably the main thing, to feel like you're in a cohesive community. And if you can do that with your business, with your customers, to make them feel like you're not just a service provider, you're not just a guy that sends them an invoice at the end of the month, but they're part of your community, then I think anything you do in terms of membership will be that much more successful.
That's a good thing. A little bit of giving back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
I send things all the time to my clients. Like, we created something last year called surprise. We want to surprise and delight our clients. And so we'll just send them, like, at our expense, like I'll have my graphic designer take every one of their logos and every one of their names and titles, and we create little notepads one month, and we send them everyone their own little personalized notepads. People loved that. Or we'll send, we send them a calendar of events and things that they might want to look out for, or plan some of their marketing around. And we just give them gifts every single month. We try to surprise and delight our clients, something that they wouldn't expect. So, yeah.
That's a great thing, thinking about that, because everybody likes calendars. And nobody wants to get the calendars of Knight Rider or maybe a High School Musical that's left over. But you said you literally customize a calendar with events that they would probably be interested, or industry things that are going on.
Yeah, well, it's more like, okay, this is the dates of this year's U.S. Open. This is the dates of the Open Championship. This is the dates of the PGA Championship. Plus, here's when you're at Halloween's 2 months out, they get a little reminder that they should maybe start to think about event promotions for Halloween. So we try to kind of think ahead for them.
I love it. That's smart, because most people are so busy, like you said, answering 100 emails or putting out the fires.
Right.
They don't always have the time to think ahead until it's, oh my God, it's too late the day before Halloween before we put it
exactly.
Right.
The current shift I'm making to that point is that I started to think about it about a month ago, really. I started to think, like, people always call me when they're in a crisis, right? They need members, and they need members immediately. Only once ever in my career, and it was fairly recent, did someone call me for consulting advice because their club is doing so great that they wanted to make sure that in the next decade they would be doing just as well. But so often people don't do that, right? We're always kind of putting out the existing fires. So I'm actually putting together a little program so that people can start to think ahead.
But with those that are needing members, what are some of the things that you've seen? Anything success that you've been able to advise them on to help drive that, or seen things that really been successful for some of your listeners or your clients?
Well, we run a lot of social media campaigns for our clients. This is just an area that private clubs never got into because of their private club status. So what people probably don't know is that most clubs are nonprofits. They're 501c7 nonprofits. They have a very specific status. And you have to be careful about what you say and what you do, which is why a specialized firm like us is important, because a lot of people just don't know the rules, or they don't want, they don't know where the line is. So just getting them into social media. Before, private clubs were all membership by referral only in these exclusive clubs. But when 2008 hit, when the recession hit, and home prices were falling, the first thing that went was private club memberships, because it's just an expense, right? Again,
Right.
It's not, I said earlier, it's not a good investment necessarily. So they realized they had to actually start marketing. So it was good timing for me. But in the end, just getting them on social media, getting really hyper targeted about who their avatar is, and going after those particular people, that's been very successful. So the other thing we do like direct mail. Direct mail has actually been pretty good, because what's interesting about mail is people don't get a lot of mail like they used to, because they're getting so much served to them digitally, that when you get something interesting in the mail, you actually want to open it nowadays.
Right. It's when it looks interesting versus the bills.
Right. Exactly.
But that's what I was going to, that brings up an interesting point, because you look at your LinkedIn profile and you're working with a variety of different clubs. Are you seeing stuff that, hey, it's working at one and then sharing it with other clubs, and then vice versa? The clubs have kind of started sharing across the board occasionally, or no?
Absolutely, yeah. We're always refining what we do, and trying to figure out what's the most effective. The other thing is, if you know anything about, if your listeners know anything about like social media marketing and retargeting, when you get into retargeting, the more data you have on who that avatar is, the better and more cost effective those social ads will be, especially on Facebook and Instagram, that have these incredible databases on likes and interests. So the benefit is that we can really refine what those lookalikes are, and we have our own internal database now that's from all over the country of what a person who's thinking about becoming a private club member might look like, that we can be that much more effective, and we roll that out to our other clients.
That's smart, and basically becoming your own. What's the word I was looking at?
Our agency gets smarter every month, is what I like.
Well, you're not. But that's a big thing. The more data you get on who's a part of it, the more you know their reactions, what they're doing.
Right.
The more refined you can be, the better. And more effective in your bang for your buck in your marketing, to be definitely more effective, right?
100%. Yep.
Especially, right. I didn't know that they were 501c3 companies. I did not know that.
501c7. So it's a weird designation. Yeah. Yep.
But that's a surprise that they're nonprofit. But there's a lot of overhead that goes into it, and running private clubs and things like that too, I imagine, huh?
Yeah, well, when clubs started, they were really member owned, right? Yep. So when you bought into a club, you actually have a share of the club itself. You have equity, is what they call it. Yep. Now more and more, there's private companies starting to buy out these member owned clubs and then run them. Those entities are not 501c7s, but still the vast majority of clubs are.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Now, you also have another book called Moving Targets that you've been rocking and rolling as well, too. Talk a little about that book.
Yeah. So, that was my first book. That came out, I want to say about 5 years ago now. So that was a book that was more broad. But when my business was more broad, it's about branding. And so the listeners of your show probably would enjoy that book, because it gets into, again, how do you create an avatar? How do you develop a brand? How do you think strategically about not just what things look like visually, but maybe when someone walks into your office, what is that smell that hits them? Right? That smell is a really powerful emotion, for instance, because if I want to give out the vibe that we're hip and modern, and I've got like a lavender relaxing smell, it doesn't really fit, right? I might want to have a citrus or something like that, something that's going to wake people up. So you got to think about what are the sounds people hear when they walk into your place of business? What are the smells? What are the touch? What do the chairs feel like? Can they sink right in and feel comfortable and at home, or is it rigid and stiff? Like, all those things make a difference. That's what that book's about.
And then I was looking at one thing. I said the wrong book. The ABCs of Plutonium Private.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, that's the big thick one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 400 pages. That's not just a simple read, but it's a definite, true kind of handbook, I would say.
It's like a textbook, basically. So this book is actually $100. It's not cheap, but when you, again, that's the thing about being a niche and being specialized is I could charge $40 for this book, that if you were to, if this was just a novel or something, it's about, I don't know, 180 pages or something like that. That's probably normally a $19 book, but because it's a niche book, that's a $40 book. This is a book that's probably a $30 book if it was just a broad random subject, but because it's so specific, it's a $100 book. So getting back to our original discussion about being niche. But yeah, this is a book that I got to say, I co-authored this, and my co-author, Michael Crandall, CNG stands for Certified Nice Guy. And you can see this cover design was his baby. So he's a wild and crazy guy in the private club world. But he did the lion's share of this work. I added a lot of the marketing and membership stuff in here, but he really helped develop this book. He put all the time and effort into it, but really proud of how it came out. What's nice about this book is we got 16 experts from all over the industry because of our contacts, because of the podcast, because Michael's been in the industry for years, just the top experts that we could cherry pick. Luckily, they all said yes to us, and they were featured in the book too.
That's always good when you can reach out to people that are experts and pick their brain and do the Vulcan mind meld with them and then share it across the board. But that's the beautiful thing about having that niche aspect that, it's really what people need in their hands to help them take it to the next level for them.
And again, that would not have happened 4 or 5 years ago before my podcast. That the podcast is what really gave me the platform to where people would trust me to the point where they'd say yes to something like that. It wouldn't have happened without the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's kind of transition a little bit. You've got really something new that you're really out having fun and doing stuff in the Let's Play Through aspect.
Yes.
Let's talk a little about that.
Yeah, Let's Play Through is my new YouTube show. And so what was cool that I came up with this concept was I'm going all over the world to these clubs. I'm doing consulting or I'm speaking all over the world. So for instance, in December, I'm going to the Middle East. I'm speaking in Qatar, Oman, and Dubai. And I thought I'm going to all these great places. And a lot of times I get to play golf or I get to have amazing meals. What if I could share that with people so they could experience it and come along for the journey? And so that was the brainchild of Let's Play Through. The website's letsplaythrough.com. You can actually go there, watch episodes, subscribe to the show. But it's fun. We go to one location, usually a real world-class golf resort every single week. And then what we do is not just play golf, because there's already a lot of golf shows out there. Right. But my show is Anthony Bourdain meets the Golf Channel.
Yep, that's such a great. That's right on the dot there. Exactly.
So I'm experiencing the local culture, the cuisine of these places. We're getting outside the clubs, and so for instance, in Qatar, we're going to be riding camels. We were at Stream Song Resort this week, where we were doing archery and sporting clays. And they had we had 16 dishes at lunch and 12 at dinner. And so we're just having these like incredible experiences. It's a lot of fun. And I think we're shining a spotlight on a lot of places. Like when you open up Golf Digest and you see the top 100, that's one thing. And we go to some of those places too. But when I know that like this club here, which we're visiting next, Tiburon in Naples, not a lot of people, that's not on a lot of people's bucket list. But this is a world-class club.
I have actually played there before. It's been a few years, but yeah, it's a phenomenal place.
It is. I mean, you think of, like when you think of Florida, you might think of Stream Song or TPC, but you probably don't put Tiburon in the mix. I don't know how you found out about it, but it's not like one that's listed on all those rankings. So we're trying to uncover some of those hidden gems for people as well.
But that's a beautiful thing, and I'm sure the people running those clubs know you from everything, and they're glad. Oh, you're going to come to a YouTube show, talk about what's going on here,
right?
Yeah, I was going to say the layover from Anthony Bourdain, what you can get done in a couple hours, but literally, like you said, the life and what's going on, and the things that are kind of unique to that club and that environment and that city and location, huh?
Yeah, we're trying to spend like 2 days at a place. So usually the one day we're at the golf course doing all that stuff for a day, and then the next day we're doing all those activities outside of it.
So you feel like you're being a kid again with a lot of that stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just fun experiencing new things and being able to share it with people.
So question for you. Have the clubs help to sponsor the new podcast or sponsoring the radio show too? Help out with that? How's that worked out for you?
Well, the radio show has sponsors. We've got the National Club Association, which is really the advocacy in Washington, D.C. for the industry. And I have a couple other sponsors, Concert Golf Partners, which actually owns and operates golf courses around the country. But for the new show, yeah, we're getting invited. People want to actually pay us to come out there and showcase their course, which is awesome. And what's great is we're able to give them something that's killer that you can't put a price tag on that production, because if you're going to do like a video, you're going to have a video crew come in and you're going to do a nice promo piece. They'll shoot all the nice drone footage. But when you can have 4 or 5 guys come in and just show people that they're having the time of their life, right. I mean, people are attracted to that energy that we have on the show because we're just having so much fun and it's real, right? It's actually happening. So it's like a back door into the psychology of selling memberships for these clubs, because you're just watching a couple of guys have fun, but then you're like, oh man, I gotta have that steak. Wow, that hole just looks incredible. Wow, I had no idea that you could go on the archery range at Streamsong. So it's a backdoor kind of. We're selling an experience, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than on that logical list of bullet points. By the way, and I don't know how well I mentioned this in the beginning, but if you want to decide, if you want to know, kind of like do an audit of your brand and see if you're already marketing to the logical side or the emotional side, if you got a list of bullet points, that's all logic. All right, that's like bullet points are like the language of logic. What this show is selling is emotion. Yeah.
So the question is, how soon till the Golf Channel comes calling, huh?
Well, to be honest with you, I think I would always keep it on YouTube because I want that creative control. Sure. I think we do things on the show that might not be great for network television. Not that we're doing anything bad or anything. But it's a different vibe than you would get on an NBC Golf. I love what they do for sure, and they have their own place, but I kind of like where I'm at too.
Well, and that's the beauty of having creative control and being able to do that stuff and create it on YouTube. That's really what the channel was created for, versus having Big Brother look over your shoulder and decide what you can or cannot share and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to put the camera on the back of a camel's hump, I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Or eat 12 dishes that woo. With your show and everything, I'm sure there's been multiple, but there's been probably some cool moments where you maybe met somebody or interviewed somebody that really just kind of stood out to you. You got 1 or 2 that you want to share?
Yeah. So if we're talking about the podcasts,
the podcast, or even playthrough, or maybe one of the.
Well, for Let's Play Through, for instance, we went to the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine when we were doing an episode on Hammock Beach. And it was cool that we got a real behind-the-scenes tour from an archaeologist that actually works at the Fountain of Youth. And it's just, I had been to the Fountain of Youth before, but to get that backstory and to go that much deeper, that was really fantastic. On the show, I've had some really guests that it's always like the guest that I didn't think would be all that good always provides the biggest amount of value. So I actually had a guest on now twice because he's so good. His name's Denny Corby, and he's a magician. Okay, he's actually a comedy magician, and he's very good. He was just on Penn and Teller, but he asked me to come on the show because he wanted to get gigs at private clubs doing his comedy and magic act. And I was a little hesitant, honestly. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? With a comedy magic guy on Private Club Radio, which is a pretty serious show. But he was incredible because he gave these really good tips about running live events. Mm-hmm. And there's always value in those guests that you'd never expect. Yeah. And I've also learned on podcasts, like the bigger the name, like you go after some celebrity or something like that, they're never going to like promote the show. Those episodes never do well. The best episodes are the people that have very rarely ever been featured on any kind of media because they're hungry and because it's new and exciting to them and they've got a network they want to share it with. So that just in and of itself is surprising.
Well, I think they totally agree because everybody, if it's a big name, there's a lot of competition. They're Googling or on other shows, and if somebody new, that's kind of I guess you could say going viral for the most part.
Exactly.
Giving great content versus the kind of the prepackaged, pitch every time.
Yeah, that's right.
Where do you see yourself kind of going with both Let's Play Through and the Private Club radio show for the next 5 years? Because you've done a great job for being somebody who was anti-podcasting originally. I think you're pretty glad you started doing that now. But what's kind of the next phase for you?
Yeah, honestly, with the podcast, I'm about to hit 200 episodes, so I feel like it's time to really shake up the show in a way. So probably change formats a little bit. It's been an interview style show for a long time, and actually, lately I've done a couple solo episodes where I was just talking about something that's on my mind, and that seems to really resonate with the audience. So I might change the format up a little bit as we move forward with that. With Let's Play Through, that's where I'm putting like 90% of my energy right now. Because that show, it's an entertaining show, but it's also bringing clients to my agency because they're seeing the real me, right? Before it was just, they saw my brochure, they saw my website, or maybe they read a book. But to see me, the real me, my personality on a show like that, then the people that feel like they know me want to connect with me even on a deeper level, and they want to do business with me because they know that I'm not some like weird guy with an ego or something like that. I'm just a regular guy, on this show. And so the show, believe it or not, is probably, I feel, going to be my biggest marketing move that I've ever made, because I'm not selling anybody. I'm just delivering them an entertaining experience. But by doing that, people are connecting with it. It's kind of weird. It's tough to explain. But I'll be putting a lot of time and energy into Let's Play Through. And the other thing is it's great for the golf courses because, again, they've never done anything like this. You might have these beautiful shots. And I've been harping on it for years on my show and on social media, that these courses have these great flyover views of their holes and their pool and their dining room, and then they're empty. There's like literally no one sitting in there. It's a beautiful table, like set up very nicely. But again, people are trying to create an emotional connection with another human being. That's our nature as humans, and it's evolutionary in our brains. We want to connect. We want to see a face. And if you see this beautiful golf course, it's a beautiful vista. That's one thing. But if people are actually there, then that elevates the entire experience of watching it that much more, because you're connecting with an individual. So I think my show is going to help these. I think my goal for the show is that we get to 1 million. I want to be the first golf show that ever hits 1 million subscribers. So that's my goal. It's a huge goal. It's some people would say a crazy goal, because if you look at golf channels on YouTube, about 300,000 is kind of max. But I'm trying to reach what I'm trying to do is reach a completely different audience. The people that maybe are just a little interested in golf, people that never thought they'd like golf, but maybe they like food, maybe they like experiences. And then they'll see, hey, this is what golf is all about. So my big goal, grand goal, is to get millennials and Gen Z into the game of golf through this show. And so that's my goal. People that want to align with that goal will align with me, I hope.
That makes total sense. And that kind of brings up the point that I think golf has been dwindling a little bit as far as those age groups kind of attracting to it. And whereas
it's hurting. It's hurting a lot with the young people. Top Golf has been good. Places like that where it's a more of a social atmosphere. People like you and me, we have families. We're busy. I have multiple businesses. I don't often have 4.5 hours, and really 6 hours is what it takes. Honestly, you got to get there, practice. You got to warm up. You got to have a few beers after the round. It takes 6 hours, right? What am I going to do? Leave my wife and kids at home while I do that? I think there's a different value system with millennials. There's a completely different value system than the generations before us. My dad would have no problem leaving the house for 6 hours. But it's a different world now. And so places like Top Golf that are social, you can go there and you can play golf in an hour or 2 hours. Golf courses that realize, hey, maybe we should have just a 6-hole little loop, or maybe we should do 9 holes or even 3 holes with people. Those are the courses I think that'll be successful, because we're all strapped for time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I was at a golf course out in Hawaii, actually, that had two 18 holes and converted one to soccer golf.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, golf. Yeah.
And making it easier for people to play and kick it into the hole versus three-putting,
That's exactly. That's big in like the UK. They're really into foot golf. They'll build foot golf courses over there. Yeah.
Yep. when you think about one of the things, and what would you say when you're talking to memberships? What's been probably one of the biggest hurdles for some of your clients that you kind of run into again and again that you've helped them get past?
Discounting.
Oh,
Right. So especially when you're struggling, I think the easiest low hanging fruit is, okay, we're going to lower our membership rates, or if you're a service provider, I'm going to lower my rates. I'm going to lower my membership. And that's the worst thing you can do if you're trying to build a membership of any kind, whether it's a club, a membership program, something you're selling into. Because every time you lower it, you're setting a new lower bar, right? You're also hurting the people that were in there in the beginning. So these clubs had people that spent $50,000, $100,000 on an initiation fee. Now all of a sudden, Joe Smith from down the street got in for zero initiation fee. It's just not fair. I mean, right? Like, these people have been paying dues all these years. So that and it becomes a downward spiral. And I'll explain it to you from a private club level, and maybe it will make sense for anybody out there. Maybe it won't, but let's see. So when you have a private club, you have an initiation fee, right? So let's say, I'm just for round numbers, I'm going to say it's $10,000. You have an initiation fee of $10,000. Let's say you lower that to zero. That's what funds your capital improvements at a club for years and years. So for them to build the new clubhouse, for them to change the silverware, for them to put in new greens because the old ones were diseased or burned out. If you're not getting that initiation fee, then you're not able to think about the future, right? And again, this is what we all do. We all try to put out the immediate fires, right? Your dues is what funds that yearly expense at a private club. So if for years you stop taking in initiation fees, what happens in 10 years when all that stuff, now you need a $10 million renovation on your course and you've got absolutely nothing. So they call it the death spiral of private clubs. You keep lowering and discounting what you do. People don't value it. Right. And that's the other thing. Let's say you need $10 million now to renovate that clubhouse. What do you have to do? You have to, just like an HOA, you have to create an assessment. So they assess the members, right? Now I have a $20,000 bill as a member of this club that I've got to pay. Now, if I came in for nothing, if I had no skin in the game, if I didn't have an initiation fee, then it's just easy for me to walk out the door, right? If I put in 100,000 when I started, 20,000's what? 20%. Math. Yeah. So it's so important to always know what you're worth and to always get it. And the way you can get it, right? So rather than discounting, there's lots of things you can do. And this is all in the definitive guide to membership marketing as well. But there's different strategies. You can limit the offer. So you can say, hey, we're letting in 25 new members. And when this category is booked, it's closed down, right? That's a much better way to drive people to actually buy your membership than to just discount it, right? Because you're getting scared. The other thing you can do is I call it like a gift with purchase. So anytime I'm consulting with clients, I say never discount, never give a coupon or a discount to your product or service. Give a gift with purchase. And I always use Macy's as the example, right? Like every year, L'Oreal and all the cosmetic brands, these women flock in there to get their little gift that probably costs $5.
Their gift bag or whatever that comes with it, yeah.
Yeah, but they do like 80. These places do like 80% of their business on that one weekend, because people are coming in for that little gift. So a gift with purchase, to always know what your value is, your core value. And you can always, people can feel like they're getting more than that, but they should never feel like they have to pay less than that.
That's a good thing to add extra, a gift with it. I want to repeat that because that was important. Never discount because you lower the value and it offends other people that have been paying in there. Right. It also doesn't build for the long haul. Yep. And then also basically add more to it versus taking away. Add an extra bonus or limit the amount, make it an exclusive offering.
Yeah, you can limit the time. So right. you have to take care of this. You have to redeem this offer by the end of the month or within 90 days, or the shorter time period the better, or limit that offer. Yeah, you see it a lot with funnels, like with all kinds of businesses have a funnel, right? And they're like, well, this is not the value of this is $5,000, but today only it's $299. Well, I mean, come on. I think we're all savvy enough to know that it's $299. That's the price, right? It was never 5,000. But if it's $299, that's the price, and you give if people buy that and feel like they got something that's worth 5,000, then you've got a customer for life, right?
Mm-hmm. What's some of the most interesting things that you've seen some of your private clubs do to give as that extra gift? Anything interesting that pops out?
Well, we recommend a passport. I don't have one of those on my desk, but we oftentimes have clubs put together a little passport, which is, it might be a bottle of wine on Valentine's Day, or free guest passes, so people can join the club. It's always meant that gift there's really no cost associated with the club. So, because if you go and get that free bottle of wine, you're buying dinner at the club, right? So people feel like they're getting something, but the club's also not having to actually lose money on that deal.
Right.
And it's something that people can redeem every month. The other thing about a passport and doing it monthly like that is people have to keep coming back to the club. The reason people stop their membership or resign is because they're not coming and they're not interacting with people, and they don't feel like they're getting the value out of their club. But if they're there every month because, hey, they're going to get a free massage or they're getting that free bottle of wine, then they get to see all the different aspects of the club that they might not see either. Because like when I go to the golf course, I check in at the golf shop, I go out to the golf shop, go out to the golf course, and then I'm gone. Like I very rarely walk into the restaurant or the bar, or I never go to the tennis courts. I hardly ever go to the fitness facility. But now if I've got a reason to do that, if I have a personal training lesson at the fitness facility on January 31st, I'll go over there. Mm-hmm. So that passport is a really creative strategy to get people to keep coming back. That's low cost or no cost for the club and actually a revenue driver. And people feel like they're getting $2,000 extra worth of value.
That's great stuff there. I can think of several companies out there that have done that we're a part of, and I'm just kind of ding.
Yeah. I love
good advice to people out there that are listening out there for you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for sharing. That's some great stuff out there. What's the best way for people to reach out to you or to get a hold of listening to the two podcasts or check out the website or anything
right now? I would love it if people go to Let's Play Through, and that's through with a U for millennials. No. letsplaythrough.com and check the show out there. If they do want to get a hold of me, that you can fill out the contact form and I'll get it eventually. And I will certainly reach right out to anyone who does fill it out. And just check out the show and see what you think.
Great stuff, man. And subscribe. Let's help them get to the million subscribers.
There you go. Yeah, I can't get to 1 million without you.
Exactly. And you need the you and play through, right? That's awesome. But that's the thing. You guys have friends that are golfers or fans, maybe not just golfers, but spouses of golfers who will probably find the other amenities and other things to do while somebody's out playing 4 or 5 hours on a golf course.
Yeah, right? I mean, if you're just interested in travel or you're a foodie, I think you'll like the show.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, man, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here. I know you've been busy and just love what you're doing, man. Just keep it up. I'm cracking up. It's making me hungry thinking about some of the when I think back to
having me on, Scott. I've enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel. Hey, have a great day, bud. All right?
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Like Gabe said, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're offering. What do you focus on? What's your clients? Really, 3 things that really come to mind is think about a day in the life of your listener and writing that down, and the pains and the troubles and the things. And that's great ways for you to connect with your audience to help them overcome those hiccups, as I guess you could say, or the things that they deal with on a daily basis. And the second thing, making your listeners be a part of the selective process of what type of episodes or who they're going to have on or what they want to focus on. Another great nugget there. And then thirdly, on the memberships there, never discount on price. Always add more value or add something that keeps them coming back without it being a loss to you or make it a revenue generator for something else. So great nuggets out there. Do take advantage of what he offered. Check out his books online there. Everybody can check out the Let's Play Through on letsplaythrough.com with just one U for the millennials, as Gabriel like to say. But go out, take some action, and we'll see you off the top, everybody.